Look, I love that it pumps. Okay, went up 400% in a matter of what, 3 weeks? But if you are not charting this thing against Bitcoin, you might as well just be buying Bitcoin
Yeah.
because in its history, Ripple is down 80% against Bitcoin. So you could have just bought Bitcoin.
I mean, even on our dollar bill, we have the pyramid and all of
Mhm.
that stuff on there already. But what would you say to somebody that says you're advising people to invest in the mark of the beast?
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves. That's what I do. When they hate, I create.
Kury is a crypto professional, and so he's going to explain a little bit to us. I'm going to ask him some questions that I'm really excited to ask him. He actually advises for a family that I know that are great people, some of my favorite people, some of my best friends. So they actually suggested that I interview Kury, so I'm excited to do it. Kury, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Kury, tell people about yourself, what they should know about you.
So, first of all, I am not a financial advisor. So I want to educate. I'm here to educate people more than anything. And my journey started, I'm a golf professional by trade, ran golf courses. I had a great life, got to do what I loved, but I was slowly getting poorer. And that's when I kind of started to go, why am I getting poorer? My life is pretty good. I'm doing what I love. You work in what you love. It doesn't seem like a job, but I was also not content with working till I died. And starting in the early 2010s, I started to get into why money is failing and why I can't get ahead. That led me into not Bitcoin, but Litecoin in 2017. Um, I think, like a lot of people, the first entrance into crypto is altcoins. They're cheaper. We all have unit bias. Typically, um, we're always looking at how technology evolves is better, cheaper, faster usually wins the game. Um, and it's not until you really dig deep down and understand Bitcoin that you can see that's not the case in crypto. So in 2017, I got in, and like a lot of people, had some big gains and some big losses, and then started to plan out things from there for my future. In the run in 2021, I made plenty enough to retire. So I did retire from my job as a general manager of a golf club, and uh, at that point, I made a decision to move into the Terra Luna ecosystem, use the dollar stable coin at that point, and understanding, kind of a victim of my own research in this case, was understanding that this coin should go up in a bear market because of the mechanism. What I didn't realize was the vulnerability. Wound up losing everything 2 weeks before I moved to Belize. Was Had rented a house for a year. Uh, Terra Luna in 12 hours lost over 80% of my wealth in 12 hours.
Wow.
So from that point forward, and fortunately I have friends. I actually wound up working on the maintenance crew that I was the general manager for the next year at the golf club, and later worked for the Freedom People and running their trust program. They do foreign express trusts to replace and to help people protect their assets, and rebuilt. I've rebuilt from there, and now I retired and down in El Salvador, and I've made it my goal because I've been in this space 7 years and well, 9 years now, really to just help people not make mistakes I did, because this is very important. The dollar is failing. You will lose all your wealth if you save your money in the dollar. And started with my family and friends and is turned into where people who want to be educated, I do consults with. So I'm not a money manager. Uh, and what I'm trying to do is help them become comfortable with being their own stewards, their own bank, using Bitcoin as their savings vehicle, and then using the altcoins at the times that they outperform Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. And that's different journey for every person. It depends on their risk tolerance. Um, Someone like me who's rebuilding, I'm still playing that game of moving to altcoins. If you have a lot of wealth already, the only thing you should be doing is DCAing into Bitcoin. Okay, why take the risk of losing a bunch in altcoins? Bitcoin performs amazingly, averages over 50% compound annual return. There's nothing like it. So I try to help people smart buy Bitcoin. Basically, if you've got $100,000 and I want to invest, don't invest it at all-time highs. And there is no bad time to buy Bitcoin if you have a long enough time horizon. But be smart and make tranches of buys each time Bitcoin corrects over 20%. And there's multiple DCA strategies, and I try to work into to educate people to be able to execute those for themselves. Because in the end, this is about self-sovereignty.
Honestly, 9/11 was one of those things that over the years, looking at that, thinking, man, like this something's really messed up in this whole thing, and there's got to be a change. There's got to be a decentralization. And Bitcoin is, you're right, it's always performed. It's really hard to say, if you're an investor or even somebody that's advising people investing, the track record with Bitcoin alone is you can't really say anything negative about it. It's hard to say. There's a lot of questions that I have that I think that some people are really invested in certain coins more than others. But before we get into that, I've got a question for you. So I know that I don't know if you are a Bible believing person. Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe in Jesus? Okay. So a lot of people that might be listening might believe that crypto is the mark of the beast, or it is a precursor or something along those lines. And I would be interested with your point of view. And I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I've been investing in coins for a long time just because I mean, all the currency is going to go to it eventually. There's no way around it. I mean, even on our dollar bill, we have the pyramid and all of that stuff on there already. But what would you say to somebody that says you're advising people to invest in the mark of the beast?
Well, I think there's so many warnings about greed and, coming from scripture. And then, in my opinion, Bitcoin is a trustless, permissionless system. Okay. Now, crypto is not. And I want to be clear, there is a huge difference. And while they are all cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin is much different than 99.9%. There are a few forks of Bitcoin that act similarly. Uh, and I think that I don't think Jesus Christ or a loving, caring God would want us to use a currency or a form of money that is under the control of another person. And I like to tell people, look, why are you working for something that someone can create out of thin air for free? If anything's the devil's money, that's it.
I mean, it's got it printed on there, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It,
Um, yeah, it's tough to not see that. And now I know that obviously the crypto, the blockchain control would be something that someone who wants control over all mankind would value. Obviously, no private transactions at that point. Bitcoin's a little different, obviously, depending on if you're able to even transfer it in the future without, it being under the watchful eye of Palantir or whatever government, whatever is, over at the time period. But that's besides the point. Right now, ultimately, the dollar is failing. There's no doubt about it. We're seeing it depreciate year to year, and so when you see people like Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist and all of this. In being a crypto guy, does any of this like give your spidey senses? Does it make it tingle a little bit?
I think the world is in extreme turmoil, and if there is any, period of where we could possibly be seeing, what comes forth in Revelations, it's now. I mean, there's a lot of signs that things are going wrong for sure, and I never doubt the ability of human beings to destruct themselves. And I think that there is the beauty of a Bitcoin is that it is something that is incorruptible by governments. Yeah, it's open in that everyone can see. It is there. That's, being surveilled on Bitcoin. Well, that's fine. They still can't stop us from transacting. And any other system means we have to give power to some third party intermediary, a corporation, the government. Palantir wants to watch my Bitcoin transactions. That's great. They still can't stop me from transacting. And that's the difference between Bitcoin and everything else. And I shouldn't say it's only Bitcoin. They can't stop Monero transactions. They can't stop Dogecoin transactions. They can't stop Litecoin. Anything that is a proof of work system that is fully decentralized, they can't stop. And that's why they hate them. But and it's also, I will argue, why Wall Street right now is all over Ethereum. Because they can plug into Ethereum, claim they're doing decentralized finance while creating their own centralized chain, just like the base chain on Coinbase. It's run on one server. There's nothing decentralized. That I've said that's a psyop so that they can track self-custody wallets. That's the whole purpose of base chain.
So that leads me to the question, where should people store any kind of crypto that they have? Or does it matter what kind of crypto, depending on what storage that you would need?
Well, I definitely believe in cold storage, air gap security for any large amount of Bitcoin. Now I live on Bitcoin down here. So we have a Bitcoin economy. I can go down the street into several restaurants, pay for meals, grocery store accepts Bitcoin.
Do they actually accept Bitcoin or like a USDT,
no, they accept
transfer?
Bitcoin.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, this is it's a US dollar economy, but it's a no crypto economy in El Salvador. So you got two choices, US dollars or Bitcoin. And I would assume they're probably going to accept USDT because Tether, it moved its corporate base here. At some point, that's going to be a part of this system down here. But
with the Genius Act, it's kind of like, when I look at that act, it's kind of is genius in a way. I mean, it's like they almost named it after exactly what it is. It's so crazy, but kind of forcing everybody to hold U.S. dollars in that way.
They're trying to keep the dollar. They're keeping the Ponzi going longer, right? Because foreign investors are not interested in U.S. treasuries. So this is the whole loss of trust in the currency. And the United States would benefit greatly from not being the world's reserve currency. Right? We've taken all the value of being the U.S. world's reserve currency from that. At this point, the only thing having the global reserve currency does for America is it gets to be the bully in the room. And other governments have said enough. It ended with the sanctions on Russia. Once that happened, they put the wheel in motion to end U.S. dollar dominance. It's just, these things are huge. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's not going to collapse overnight. It's just going to take time, and they're going to print more and more dollars, stealing your wealth if you do not move to hard assets. The hardest asset in the world is Bitcoin. Okay, we've seen it as gold explodes now. And gold is moving at a rate that we haven't seen in probably 14 years, I think. It hasn't really moved at this type of pace. This is people losing faith in the U.S. dollar. And really, there are very few times in history where you see the stock market, gold, crypto. I mean, obviously, crypto being newer, but we're seeing all these things go up. This isn't an everything bubble. It's the dollar losing its value.
Yeah. So I've got a few questions. I'm just going to kind of rapid fire at you.
Mhm.
If you had an ounce of gold, or would you rather, if I were to say, here, I'm going to give you this portion of Bitcoin that equals an ounce of gold or an ounce of gold right now, what would you take?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. So if you had gold right now, would you go sell it and buy Bitcoin?
Uh, Not necessarily. It depends on where you're at. For example, obviously, if I was in the US, I mean, when I was in the US, I want to be able to move.
Mm-hmm.
Holding physical gold, if I want to leave the country, you're not getting out of the country with
Mm-hmm.
your gold.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to absolutely sell that before I left. If you're in a place you know you're going to stay for a long period of time, some physical gold is good. Worst case, the world goes to hell, you can make bullets out of it. It's really,
Yeah, right.
but physical gold is difficult, and the reason it has always failed as money is it is difficult to transport. You can't divide it easily. And then human beings being human beings, any system of custody with issuance, so paper certificates based on gold. Today, they want to tokenize it on the blockchain. Okay. How do we trust that they hold the gold? Because at no time in history has any government or bank not issued more currency units than they hold in gold. They always cheat. That's why gold's failed.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have some gold. In my case, I own Paxos Gold, which is a tokenized form of gold on the blockchain. Do I trust that they hold the gold? They're audited every month. I don't know. Do I trust the auditors? Probably not. They probably don't, quite frankly. But it is a little bit more stable unit in times of crisis. So we could see something like Bitcoin go down 50%, then go up 400% in the next 3 years. Holding those a little bit of that gold means when Bitcoin goes down 50, maybe gold drops 10. That gives me some peace of mind. But in the big scheme of things, Bitcoin's a $2 trillion asset with an addressable market of $450 trillion. Gold's 5,000 years old. It's a $28 trillion market cap with an addressable market cap of $450 trillion. But it's in 5,000 years, it hasn't addressed that. That's because of its shortcomings. Bitcoin solves all those problems, portability, cross borders, without being able to be confiscated. So I think Bitcoin can take a much larger share of that $450 trillion market in the next 15 years.
So this next question, my friend told me you were kind of nervous about this one because you think maybe a lot of my audience might disagree with you. And I'm not sure if they would or not. I don't even know that a lot of my audience really is into Bitcoin. I know there are some, though, that are into this particular coin, XRP. Tell me what
It's
you think
never
about
popular when
XRP.
I talk to the XRP army, and
Oh, man.
I get into it with a lot of people sometimes, occasionally on Twitter about it. But what I feel like is people, I was I think I'm blessed a little bit with a very intuitive, inquisitive mind. I had to study all these coins when I got into this market because I did not understand it. So, I mean, I read white papers. I started to look at research, the backgrounds of who the founders were. Now, obviously, there's 40 million coins now. There's no way to do that kind of research. Hopefully, AI can help do that and be able to spot winners in the future. But what I did in 2017, all the hours of researching these can't be done. And one of the things about XRP and Ripple, and I trade it. So I'm not going to tell people don't invest in it, but I think they should understand what they're investing in and all the misinformation that is out there about what it is. So the first thing is it's 100 billion tokens. So it will never reach the price of Bitcoin. So that's the first lie that I hear all the time. $10,000 Ripple equates to more money than there is assets in the world today. It's $10 quadrillion. Okay. Bitcoin's a $2 trillion asset. Okay, so everybody has to get out of their head. Okay, the third thing is again, market cap and math. What is the addressable market cap of Ripple? Well, when I say Bitcoin has an addressable market cap of $450 trillion, the other 40 million cryptos have an addressable market cap of around $70 trillion. That's because they are going to attack the stock market as equities, okay, if they are useful. But you have 40 million tokens competing for $70 trillion, one competing for 450 trillion. Which one do you think is going to win? And it is provable if you go and chart out all of the altcoins, Ethereum, it doesn't matter. They all lose value to Bitcoin over time. But in certain parts of the cycle, they run way up. Now, I take the gamble of investing my cash that I would buy Bitcoin with now is going into some of these altcoins to try to take advantage of that and get out with more Bitcoin than I would if I just bought Bitcoin. XRP is great for that. But the last thing I want people who invest in XRP need to realize. Ripple created this for free. Sounds like the US dollar. They gave themselves and their founders 90 billion of the 100 billion tokens. Yes, some are locked in escrow, but they unlock. And Ripple Labs has one business that's selling you XRP. They have a whole marketing team for it. They pay influencers to push this. Okay. It is a absolutely fantastic coin to be in for short periods of time and make a lot of Bitcoin. But if you think this is a store of value, if you think it's going to replace Swift, if you think it is the future of currency, you are sadly mistaken. And you need to do some research and double check your facts. You are being lied to. And that's my issue with Ripple. They've lied to everybody. They pay for influence. They pay to go visit a bank, and then they put out a press release that they're talking to this bank about something. Okay. Ripple's only business is creating CBDCs on private blockchains for foreign governments, and it doesn't pay very well. They make a lot more selling you coins they created for free.
Interesting. And I see here there's this one guy that goes around. He's been on a lot of shows lately, really, really speaking up the XRP. There's also the so-called prophet. I can't remember the guy's name right now. David Wilkerson, maybe some way along those lines, that prophesies, this is in early 2000s, maybe in the 90s, that there will be an investment with an X and a P in it, or XRP or something like that, that he claims is this investment. So you have a lot of people that are really dieharders about it because of that right there. Now, for me, I invested in it a long time ago. I thought I've already 10x'd, all the investments that I put in XRP. And the way I look at it over time, it's almost been kind of a hedge type thing that just slowly kind of has been going, and recently a little bit more than normal. But I'm like you, I've never been unhappy that I put money into XRP, but to get rich quick type thing, I don't see 10,000 a coin. I do see that it's possible, especially with inflation, with everything going on, that depending on what the currency is at the time, it could act as some sort of go-between between different bridge systems and stuff along those lines, which could drive it up a little bit. But maybe, I don't really know, man. I've researched it, but not quite as deep as what you're talking about here. And I do see a lot of the propaganda for it. XRP Army is just like every day I'm seeing videos about this coin. So it's interesting to hear your point of view on that. And you're right. A lot of people will be like, oh, this is the coin of the future. This is the Patriot coin. This is the coin that is going to make all of us rich. So
let's talk really quickly about the SWIFT system. That's the biggest argument. Banks will use this. Okay. So that makes XRP bank software. What's the current value of bank software? Few $100 billion. I mean, Visa, MasterCard isn't even worth $1 trillion. So you're telling me now that bank software is going to be worth hundreds of $1 trillion in the future.
I think the argument that they would make is Ripple's the software, XRP is the token. And so I don't know if that's even the case anymore. I think BlackRock might have bought XRP. So I don't even know if that's even the case.
Ripple still owned. Ripple Labs is
Okay.
still owned. And here the point is, well, the token, but here's the other one. Okay. Currently 8,000, 9,000 transactions a day on Ripple. It failed just a month ago, 42 transactions per second. To run anything around the world, you need to get close to 1 million transactions per second. So one, it doesn't have the speed to become a payment system. It does have the speed to become a back channel settlement system for Swift. That's what it was originally designed for. I don't question that. But Swift is a settlement layer. Banks use Swift to transfer large amounts between each other. So you're talking maybe globally, there are 10,000 Swift transactions per day. If it costs 0.01 XRP to transact $1 billion of value between banks, how many Ripple are they going to buy? It's not a stock. There's no profit sharing. It's not a proof of stake. You can't stake your coins to secure it. It is a centralized. They have 7 validators. Okay. This is just a small San Francisco company whose only business is to market you this. Now, you can choose not to believe me, but understand those are the facts. Everybody can do that. And I want people to understand that. Look, I love that it pumps. Okay, went up 400% in a matter of what, 3 weeks in April of last year. So April 24 was on that. But if you are not charting this thing against Bitcoin, you might as well just be buying Bitcoin. Because in its history, Ripple is down 80% against Bitcoin. So you could have just bought Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And held it. If you can,
I'll say I bought so many different coins, and it's so crazy that I bought so many random things over the years. And yeah, you're right. I mean, if performing against Bitcoin, there's just no question Bitcoin is the dominant male in the room. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. I remember when Dogecoin, I I was sitting on my computer a long time. I don't even know what year it was. I was like, oh, Dogecoin, that looks kind of funny. And I was like, $100 into Dogecoin, and I don't even know what it was. It was like 0.001
yeah,
or whatever.
fractions of a pennies. Yeah, yeah. Doge was a great performer in Bitcoin every cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
You can, and that's my point. If you understand what these are, which are highly speculative assets, and during points in the cycle, money flows into them, you can supercharge your Bitcoin collection. But none of them over time outperform Bitcoin. They always go to lower lows. Once they've run a few cycles, they make lower highs against Bitcoin. So storing your wealth in a crypto is a mistake. Storing your wealth in Bitcoin is a genius move. It outperforms everything.
Yeah.
You just have to hold it for 5 or more years.
And for those of you that aren't familiar with purchasing crypto and Bitcoin, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, because a lot of people are like, I can't afford a freaking Bitcoin. Right. It's like $100,000 right now. So explain the process and let's say I'm a noob, I've never bought crypto. It sounds like a video game to me. I don't know what it is. How do I buy this, man? How do I buy this, Kury?
So my first explanation to everybody is, you're absolutely right about the portions of a Bitcoin, and the smallest unit of a Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. So I like to tell people that think of a Satoshi as a penny. Okay. If you want $1 million, you need 100 million pennies. There are 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin. So I recommend people go to Strike first, because it's a Bitcoin only, and they have no fees on recurring purchases for Bitcoin. Yes, it's centralized, but I use it down here because it's a great Lightning wallet to pay for everything.
That's awesome. I did not know that. I'm going to be going down there here soon, anyway to El Salvador. So man, when we
Oh,
get
let
done,
me know.
you'll have to show me how it works. That's awesome.
I will. Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. So, yeah, Strike is great for payments. It also now they allow you to borrow against your Bitcoin, which once you accumulate enough Bitcoin, that is just like the wealthiest people in the world borrow. They don't sell their land. They
Mhm.
don't sell their stock. Elon Musk doesn't sell Tesla stock. He borrows against it.
Mhm.
You don't take a pristine, rare asset and sell it. You hold it and you borrow against it. And now you can through Strike and the multiple lenders out there. So Strike, I tell everybody, that's the first place because the app is simple. It's Bitcoin only. Once you've taken the time to understand Bitcoin, then it's time to look at maybe the US exchanges because again, fiat on-ramps are tough. So having Kraken, Gemini, and Coinbase to be able to at least onboard US dollars. I don't recommend ever selling anything there. If you're going to trade crypto, you need to learn the ropes, move to no KYC exchanges. But because you are in the USA, you have a bank account, fiat on-ramp is crucial. So you can use those sites for fiat on-ramp. You can use them to buy Bitcoin. I would never buy anything on Coinbase because the fees are ridiculous.
That's the truth.
Gemini and Kraken are much better. But in the end, it all depends on how deep you want to go into this. If you're looking for just to increase the value of what money you have, just buy Bitcoin, go through Strike. You can also do it on Cash App too. I know my sister, Strike is not allowed in New York. My sister uses Cash App. Simple systems that we're all familiar with where you can just buy and hold Bitcoin. But I also recommend once you get to a certain point that you self-custody your Bitcoin because when you're holding them on any of these platforms, you don't own it. It's just like a bank. They're giving you a credit for how much Bitcoin there is, and they don't have to give that to you until you actually withdraw it, put it in self-custody and hold it. And, so start buying it, learn self-custody. That would be step 2. You can I have a blog on thefreedompeople.org/blog. I write it every month. The whole bottom of the blog is education links to wallets, tutorial videos. You can learn about this stuff in under an hour to get started and get moving. Once you get there, then I suggest that, everybody start to think about their security first because you are now the bank. So why do banks have fees? Why is Visa charged 3%? You're getting that for protection for your mistakes. If you make a mistake in crypto, your money's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
a scary
that's the
deal.
trade-off.
Just transferring the money or the crypto is just scary in general. It's like it could
It
just be
is.
gone,
And that's where good practice is. It's not hard, and that's one of the things I work with. When I have clients and we're doing something new like buying on a no KYC exchange. We always go through the steps they need to remember to transfer money soundly. Always make a test transaction first. Okay, when you're going from Coinbase with their stable coins over to the no KYC exchange, send $10. Make sure the transaction goes through. Now you're clear to go. Always do this when you're going from the no KYC exchange. Once you've bought Bitcoin over to your hard wallet, send a small amount. Yes, you're going to pay a 2 fee, but that's way better than sending $20,000 out in the ether. Then, if you happen to copy the address wrong or whatever, test transactions eliminate all the stress. And I see too many people, especially, because of QR codes, get really cavalier in this space with, oh, yeah, I'll just do this. Well, how do you know that QR code generated, was copied right if you don't at least check the address?
Right.
Said it takes a second to look at the string of letters and numbers to make sure that they're verified. It's just not a hard thing, but it becomes, we're used to this system where I just call my bank and say this is fraud, or I can, That's not the way crypto works. This is a full self-responsibility. Think it just no different than if you owned gold, right? If you own physical gold, you have to secure that.
Mhm.
You know, no, same system of checks and balances. You're going to want a safe. You're going to want to make sure that that safe isn't out in the open. All the things that you would have to do to secure your gold, your purchase. Same thing with crypto.
I got one last good question for you because hopefully we'll talk again soon to talk more about some of these up and comers and stuff.
Mhm.
If I've got $10 and I want to 10x or 100x this next bull run, where do I put that money? And of course, I know this is not you're just this is just theoretical, hopeful wishing. We're not saying that this is going to happen, but I'm curious as to what
So,
your coin is if you're just looking to get some big X's in this next bull run.
so the I have I have stopped looking for those. Um, because again, this isn't 2020 when there were 20,000 coins.
Right.
They're just spinning them out of things like pump.fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anything's capable of 100x if you find it at the right time. Right? It doesn't take a lot of money. There is an issue that a lot of people find with like they get into a meme coin and there's no liquidity, so they may 100x it, but by the time they get out, they only get a 5x.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's another thing. But if I had to tell you, I mean, I am, truth be told, I'm investing in this now. If something that is mainstream can do a 10x, and I think it's going to probably do a 10 to 20x, and is definitely going to make more Bitcoin, is Pudgy Penguins, Pengu.
Hmm.
Um, it's it's on every major exchange. They CEO just rang the bell on NASDAQ a couple weeks ago. They have a hugely popular game. The kids love the toy. It reminds me of Doge. I think we're going to be seeing Pudgy Penguin videos on TikTok. So if I had to, and that is one that I don't think is going to go to zero in the next 2 months. It's going to go up with as long as Bitcoin and we're still in a bull market. It's going to go up and it has the potential to 10 to 20x.
My
That would be
kids
the one.
My sons
You
are going
could,
to be happy about that one because I give them the option like, okay, do you want your allowance in dollars or do you want you want to pick a crypto and put it on your ledger that you get to
uh,
get that. So they pick weird ones. So this is one that they probably like a lot. So that's cool. They're going to be happy to hear that one.
yeah,
So
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they always want to do crypto every time now. Like before it was like, oh, I want to, get this, but then they see like, oh, I've got more money in crypto now than I did when I first put it in there. That's pretty cool. So they see that and
Yeah,
usually
that's a
over
great.
time it almost always, goes up. There's times when they look at it when it's not as much up, but it's always kind of going up there. So,
It's great to look to teach kids about money that way
yeah.
too. Elon Musk famously got into Doge to teach his kids about highly inflationary money.
Yeah.
And his unintended consequence about talking about it was he took a highly inflationary currency, turned it into a big thing. And now, I mean, hard to argue with something becoming a $40 billion asset.
I mean, it's hard to, like it paid for the roof on my building, man. I was sitting there
Right?
hanging out there playing a game and my phone's going bling, 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 bling. And I needed a $40,000 roof on my building over there. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
Dogecoin. Perfect timing. Here we go. So, yeah.
We're headed into that season. We've got a couple months here that we're going to see altcoins outperform Bitcoin, and then the cycle's likely over.
Yeah.
And we're going to see if the Bitcoin cycle has been broken by all the Wall Street interest. I do not foresee, potentially things like XRP, BNB, Solana, Ethereum that are going to have ETFs that are going to have, they may have lesser bear market.
Hmm.
And instead of going down 90%, maybe they go down 70, but
Yeah.
they're going to have a bear market. It's
Yeah.
just, there's too many of them out there competing for the same space.
Yeah.
Whereas Bitcoin has no competition because it is the only store of value. It's the most secure network.
That's
So it'll
interesting.
be interesting. We could either have the typical 4-year cycle, Bitcoin goes down 60-70% from the high in October, November, or we could see a very different cycle taking place because of all the Wall Street rotation. And I always say the wild card is a major nation, a Japan, a Brazil, the US actually says, yep, we've put it on the balance sheet. That would totally break the rolling cycle. And I think we'd see a long period of accumulation at that point.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, please don't go. I'm like, I love to see the dives in it because that's when I like to buy, at the same
Yeah.
time, I hate to see it, but it's like, oh, I feel okay buying again. Like, cause I remember when it was like 7,000 a coin, I was like, oh, it's so high. I'm buying a little bits of it. I'm like, it's just so like, I hope this is real, and the next thing you know, it's like 14,000, there's 20,000, then 50,000. And I'm like this, like I just keep accumulating no matter the cost, because I do believe like you one day, I mean the value, if it continues to be an asset, the value's got to be in the millions per coin.
Yeah.
So
No, and you are absolutely right. Yeah, I tell people this too. Bitcoin always gives you an opportunity, but what I see so often is people. This last cycle, right? Bitcoin did something it never had done. It broken the previous all-time high, went below it. Everybody's screaming 10,000, right?
mm-hmm.
10,000 a coin. Well, it didn't get there. Now you should have been when it broke 20K. If you were anybody, you should have said, yep, I'm buying, get as much as I can below 20,000. It's not going to be here long. Instead, what a lot of people said, well, I'm going to wait to buy for 10K. And then Bitcoin started to round out its bottom and started to move up. And then I heard a lot of, it's a bear market bounce. It's going to go back to 10 or 12K. And you kept hearing that. Then Bitcoin got to 38,000. I remember this specific level, 42,000. And I started to hear, well, it's going to pull back to 30,000. I'll buy there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And these people, you'd heard them the whole way up. When it went to 70,000, they were saying, I'll wait for it to get back to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it went down to 49, but did those people buy at that time? No, because they were waiting for 40. And ultimately, in an asset that stores value this well, there's no bad time to buy it. And if you one of the most effective strategies is just find a top, the recent top at 124,000. If Bitcoin drops 20% or more, which would be back to about 99,000, buy it.
Absolutely.
It may go down another 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
Buy more there.
Yeah. You can play the buy and average game, like that, or you can just not, because I don't even pay attention to it anymore. I'm just like, whatever, it's going to do what it's going to do. Like, I'm probably not going to touch it until I absolutely just really want to. Like, there might come a time where I'm like, all right, it's time, but like until then, I just like set it up and it just goes, it reoccurs, buys and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, like the wealthy borrow against it. You never have to sell your Bitcoin. I mean, I have a loan right now I use to buy more Bitcoin.
It's a great idea, man.
That's going to pay for itself.
If I would have started doing that a long time ago, which I don't think you could borrow against it back then, I would already probably be a billionaire by now, because you could just borrow against it and then put it back into Bitcoin, borrow against it, put it back into Bitcoin. Yeah. And, if I would have known what I know now, I would have got 10 credit cards and maxed out every single one of them on Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And famously, a couple of college kids that are actually pretty famous now, Will Clement and can't remember the other kid's name, but he's actually runs Metaplanet's Bitcoin strategy. Those two in 2020 both went on the air on Anthony Papiano's show and told them, we just got as many credit cards that as we could and maxed them out. I don't advise people to go into debt to invest in anything. But I think you need to start to look at the world in a different manner. And I always look now at assets against their gold value, their Bitcoin value, and sometimes I'll look at them against real estate and understand that certain things outperform, and I get everybody needs a castle, but when you look at real estate versus the M2 money supply, The last 8 years, real estate's losing value.
Mhm.
Gold is losing value, even though it's at all-time highs. Bitcoin is outperforming. Several of the Mag 7 stocks have outperformed the money supply. And that's where you want to move to. You keep your money moving, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's probably gonna come a time where more and more things outperform Bitcoin as it becomes larger. It's not gonna be this 50% compound annual return forever. Next 10 years, 30 to 50% more than likely. And if you're not in Bitcoin, you're effectively cheating yourself.
Especially if you're just throwing your money in a savings account, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
cheat, big time cheat right
Yeah,
there.
well, the US dollar loses, they print 10% of the supply every year, and then it has 4% inflation. Whatever they say CPI is, that's a load of crap. Okay?
Mhm.
It's so you're losing 14% of your purchasing power every year. So any asset, any investment you make needs to make 14% before you're breaking even these days. And this is only going to accelerate because they're going to print as the debt-based system implodes, they have to print more and more money. So money printing is going to accelerate over the next 10, 20 years, not decelerate.
And the homes thing really irritates me too. People think they're getting these home values, but the taxes are, they're getting their money back in the taxes. People don't realize
And
that they're
insurance
in insurance.
too.
They're taking every bit of that extra money that you think you got on your house, and they're just taking it all. And that's 100%. I've done the math, and it's just the home thing is not where it's at. I know a lot of people think that, but I feel like it's probably getting ready to crash. But you know.
Yeah, and again, everybody needs a place to live, but we in America, because of fixed interest rate mortgages that are rigged by the government to be lower than they should be, and 30-year rates on top of allowing corporations to buy single family homes, you have elevated and you've monetized real estate. But realistically, a 30-year home it should be like a car.
Mhm.
There's more maintenance. It should devalue,
Mhm.
shouldn't go up in value. These are not monetary assets. So what's going to happen, I foresee in the next 20 years, it's not going to happen immediately, but it's something like Bitcoin, which is pristine collateral and can be liquidated in under 10 minutes, is going to replace the use of owning a home as a place to store your wealth. And this will devalue. We actually, if you look at Bitcoin in 2016, it took 650 Bitcoin to buy a 210,000. The average American home was 210,000. 658 Bitcoin. Today, that same home costs $430,000. So you doubled in 9 years the price of that home. But in Bitcoin terms, it only costs me 3.5 Bitcoin to buy that house now. So if you had just bought Bitcoin in 2016, you could buy, you could buy 200 of those homes.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So
interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
I
That like
encourage people to change their denominator and think of everything priced in Bitcoin, not in the dollar.
and I hope people listening know that we did this broadcast. I did it because I really think people need to be thinking outside of the dollar. I really do. And I know that a lot of people were very leery of that, but I want to see all of you guys succeed. I want to see everybody have good financial practices. I think it's important that we all try to do our best to take what God's given us and multiply, do the best we can with it without being money grubbers and crazy. And so, Kury, I appreciate you coming on. Tell people how they can get in touch with you, and I'll put the link or your email or whatever you would like
Yeah.
in the description.
Gmail is my name, Kury Reynolds at gmail.com. Of course, they can follow along in my blog. It's written by Kury Freedom, but it's at thefreedompeople.org/blog. Been writing that every month for almost 2 years now. So there's all kinds of education there. And then if they want to shoot me a DM on Twitter, it's ScooterR16.
Say that again because you cut out a little bit. Scooter, what?
Scooter
R.
R16.
Okay.
Yep. Scooter R16.
Very good. Thank you so much, Kury, for coming on, man. I appreciate talking to you. This was a really cool conversation. I love talking about this stuff, and there's not a lot of people out there, at least in my area, that talk too much about this. So thanks for coming on, and I appreciate you guys. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains.